Hey, Rich. I saw that Adams live. I was just watching his show a little bit, so I saw that Adams live. I was just watching his show a little bit, so I saw that Adams live. I feel bad. I didn't mean to go live when he was going live, but I scheduled mine just before he went on, so um, so we'll see if everybody wants to go hang out over there. That's fine too. Let's see who shows up here. Give it a little bit. Hey, Mike. Hey, Blue Oval. Yeah, I was watching it for a little bit. I can only take so much of Brian. Give it a few minutes, see if a couple more people show up. But what I'm going to talk about are these new independent O-ring front ends that Terry put out from Hardin Creek. We'll take a look at them. Yeah, I bought these specifically because I have this IROC set that I run when I race in all my lane colors. I've already put the independent front end on this blue car and this white car, and I thought, let me see, like, let's do a little comparison. So I'm gonna compare a stock front end to what I had on these cars, which was a non-independent Viper O-ring front end, and then we'll see if the independent front end, we'll see if it gives us any benefit over the Viper O-ring front end, the non-independent front end. We'll run some laps on the track and see if it improves the handling or the lap times any. I don't know. Maybe on a car like this, it's not worth hopping up the front end. We'll see. So this car has completely stock front, stock tire. Well, it has silicone tires that I put on the rear. All these cars have the same rear tires. This this front tire, I will say, is all the way up at like a 385, I think it was. It's pretty high. Yeah, it's like a 385. Whereas the independent O-ring, well, the O-rings are at 350, a 350. So that's here compared to right next to it, actually. So yeah, that's kind of funny. You can see the size difference from this 385 to the O-ring that I have on here is 350. A little snug on 350. Could almost be a little bit closer to 355, although it goes through there. So, but obviously much smaller than the 385. And I already had the O-rings on the non-independent front end, so I didn't bother buying any O-ring tires. They don't come with the tire, so you do have to buy the O-ring tire. They're only a buck a pair, so they are relatively inexpensive. This independent front end is look real quick on I think it was $7.95 for the kit. Yes, 7.49. I'm sorry, 7.49. So 7.50 plus a buck for the, so 8.50 will get you an independent front end. The non-independent, this front end from Viper is $4.95, and that already includes a set of tires. So for $4.95, you get an independent front end with, I think, .350 tires. So it is $4. It's almost twice the cost to go to the independent front end. Yeah. So let's see if it's really worth that, or is the non-independent O-ring front end sufficient enough, or even leaving the stock front end on it. Now, by comparison, I normally run the independent front end from Viper or from Wizard. It's an aluminum independent front end, and it has these flat type of tires that come in a lot of different sizes. And this front end is only $6.95 to $7.95, depending on, it comes in different colors of aluminum. So it's the same cost really for the front end. The only difference is these tires are $2.95 a pair. So the tires are a little more expensive, but I like this tire better than the O-ring personally, and I like the number of different sizes that this comes in. So if you really want to tweak your height of the front of your car, personally, I'd go with this front end set if you're going to go with an independent front end. But the O-ring front is a little more economical, and it does come with there are several different O-ring sizes available on HC's site. He has it all the way down to .325. So you can get 325, 340, 354, 360, which is spec'd for Tyco 440s and Mega G Plus cars. So there's a number of sizes you can choose from. Not quite as many as this type of front tire option. Since I already had, like I said, the non-independent O-ring, I figured out, let me try what these new ones that Terry had and see what I think of them, and just use the O-ring tires that I have. Hey Jack, hey, we're gonna do some racing tomorrow probably, if you want to come by. Figure around 10:30, 11. So before I put these other sets on, let's take one of these cars with the non-independent front end. We could take this car that has a stock front end if we want to compare that to. We could run stock front end, we could run Viper front end, and then independent front end, and see if it makes much of a difference with these particular Mega G Plus 1.7 chassis with these bigger GT bodies. What do you think? Sound like a plan? Run some laps? Then we'll come back and put the independent front end on the car and see how it runs. Set up the camera over here by the track. Hopefully you guys can see that. Okay, so I'm going to run some laps with the stock front end on this particular GT40, and then I'm going to run some laps on this GT40 from my IROC set that has the Viper O-ring front end, and then we'll swap the new independent O-ring front end onto this car and see if having the independent front end gives us any better lap times, which is kind of the whole purpose of this morning's little experiment. Yeah, I don't think it'll ever look like Scott's wall, Mike. Those were just a few cars I had bought over the years that I liked. And I figured, why not put them up on the wall? All right, let's run some laps. Let me reset this. Oh man, this car is kind of slow. I got this thing full throttle. It's not even coming off the track. Alright, this car might not be a good example. Wow. This thing's not running so great. That was a 4.071. It does have level 42 magnets, but I have level 42s in almost all of my Mega G Plus cars, but unfortunately this thing's not running very good. We'll just run some laps with the red car with the Viper front end. 3.8 seconds. Another 3. This car runs pretty good without the independent front end. Staying on the track pretty good. 377, 374. Zero. 370. That was about 20 laps almost. No issues, no D slots. So I don't know that the independent front end is going to really gain us much over the Viper front end with the same O-ring size tires that are not independent, at least on this particular car. They might be better, might get better performance out of a different chassis. I mean, the Mega G Plus is not the fastest car. But let's go ahead and put the independent front end on this thing anyway. We'll take off this Viper front end. It just pulls right off. And I'm going to use these O-ring tires that were on here. Hey, Jim. I run my track at 18.5 volts, so that's what I was just running these Mega G Pluses at. So this kit comes with the axle, the two hubs, the retainers, and what I think is nice is he also put two 10,000 spacers in there, and this car does need those spacers, otherwise there's a pretty good amount of play. So I actually put the spacers on the Mega G Plus chassis. So the first thing I do is I take one of these spacers, I'll do this over here on a hard surface. I take the axle, I take my little version of Rich's hammer, just give it a little tap till that retainer is on, and slide on one of the hubs. I'm gonna put one of these spacers on as well. So we've got the spacer, the hub, then the spacer. Take our chassis, put this through there, put the other spacer on, and then the tricky part is I take this other retainer. What I do is I take the hub and I put it over it so it's sitting on top. You got to kind of keep that spacer on, and you kind of get it all on there like so. And then I just take my hammer and gently tap it until it seats in. Now it's on. Feels like we can make this a little more snug. Yeah, that's better. Just a tiny little bit of play. See, sometimes even I need to use the hammer. Yep. We'll put these fronts on. I believe these are the same size hubs as the non-independent. Let's see where these come in. And you know what? It feels a tiny bit looser, like a little bit lower profile. I think this was a little bit harder to get through, but it's pretty much a 350. Definitely goes through the 355 now. But now we have a nice independent front end. And let's take this back to the track. We'll do some laps with the independent front end. Though I don't know that we're going to do any better since we didn't have any D slots before. And we managed to do a 370. I guess we could see if we could beat a 370. Yeah, I'm the same way, nobody. I run my track at 18.5 volts, and I haven't touched it in a long time. Though I am about to build, I ordered some parts to build a gravity car. I'm building a Viper jet with the weights. I am going to lower the track voltage down when I run that car. I'll probably run it at maybe like 16 volts, something like that. I think they recommend 12 to 15 volts. Nah, 22 volts is too high for some of the cars I run would be screaming. All right, so 370 was the best lap we pulled. Although these Mega G Plus cars feel like they need more voltage, they're not very fast. Like I could almost go full throttle and it's Alright, that was full throttle. So it does come off over here on the I Killed Kenny turn here. On that blue lane. Can't quite go full throttle over there. 375. Turn the sensitivity up a little bit, see if I can get a little more speed out of them. Which I can, but then I gotta drive them better. There's a 375. 371. Pushed it a little too hard there. Nope, can't beat that 371, so. So I don't know, not, at least on my track, not a huge, no real benefit over the regular Jeep, O-ring, Viper O-ring, non-independent front end. I wish I had a better running stock car with a stock front end, but I'm sure either the Viper O-ring front end or the independent front end would be a good upgrade over stock. Did I purchase the what? The AFX? My buddy bought me a set of those you're talking about the new AFX Mega G Plus F1 cars? I do have a set coming, but I don't have them in my possession yet. My buddy's been too busy to come over and bring them to me, but I haven't had a chance to run them. Let me go ahead and, since I bought these independent front ends, I'm going to put them on all of my IROC cars, just so I have it. I have them all set up the same way, though. It's hard for me to recommend getting the independent front end over the stock Viper O-ring front end if you already have those. I didn't see a very big improvement personally on, at least with these particular cars. Maybe with a shorter wheelbase car might see a better improvement, but I thought these longer, bigger cars, you might see an improvement as well for the handling with the independent front end, but maybe on a road course that has even tighter turns, that might be a benefit to the independent front end. But yeah, Jim, once I get those F1s, I'll certainly be putting them to the test, see how they run. I will say I do have one of these that's completely stock out of the package, and it falls off a lot easier than these cars do. So going with the level 42 and the silicone tires is a great upgrade for the Mega G Plus cars. All right. Put this on, this last set on that I have here. I already put that one retainer on. I'm a fan of the independent front end. What the heck, if you're gonna upgrade, you might as well go in the independent front end. I mean, our real cars have independent front ends, right? Though it's definitely not required. And for half the price, you could pick up these Viper front ends, and they are a nice upgrade over the stock front end for sure. But there's my set, my IROC set. Well, one of 3 different IROC sets that I have. Got a couple of Viper IROC sets as well. But one thing I did want to talk about, which I'm looking forward to. I don't know if you guys saw. I follow Rooster Racing on Facebook. Steven Crossland from Rooster Racing, who I've spoken to a number of times. He's a good guy. He's a great builder. He usually builds high-end performance chassis, Vipers and Fusions. But he partnered, I guess Terry Flynn reached out to him and asked if he would be willing to build his version of the Super 7. So he posted on his Facebook page that he's going to be building a Super 7 and selling it a Rooster Racing version of the Super 7. It's going to have a balanced armature, same like can type motor as the Super 7, obviously. Well, here I got my couple of my Super 7s. So it's going to have the same balanced armature, I assume, that's in the GT version of the Super 7. And the way that they balance this armature is actually, I don't know if you could see, there's actually a piece of material inserted in between the laminations there. They don't actually cut holes in the stacks there. They balance it by adding weight that way. But the version that I guess Steven is gonna. So I was talking to Steven because I was like, well, Steven, why would I spend 50? He wants to get $55 for his Super 7. You can get a regular Super 7 for like 35 and the GT version for 40. And you can get a Viper for like what, a Viper's 45, I think, just for the chassis, a V-Spec, a stock V-Spec. So I was like, why would I want to spend $55 for a Super 7, a Rooster Racing Super 7? And he said his Super 7 would eat up or beat, would perform better than a stock Viper. So I said, okay, I want one. I want to test this. He's like, okay, I want you to test it. So he's actually sending me one. Steven is sending me a Super 7 for me to put through the paces. So I'm going to compare it to a stock Super 7, a GT Super 7, GTS, whatever this is called. And I did change these rear tires, though. I don't know what I did with the black, softer ones that were on my GT's version. And then I'm also going to compare it to a stock V-Spec, and we will see how the Rooster Racing Super 7 compares, and where it falls price-wise versus performance. Oh, cool, Ray. So Steven built your Super 7? Yeah, so the one Steven is building, it will have silver plated electrical, so you'll get that benefit. It does have um, a balanced armature, like I said, dual flange 250 rear. I think he said 380 or 385. I forget what size tires he's going to be putting on his version. It comes with a non-independent, at least the first ones he's doing will have an O-ring, Viper O-ring front end. So I'd be curious to see how the car performs against these two cars and a Viper V-Spec. I don't know. Personally, I like the Viper V-Spec chassis better. I like the motor and being able to totally modify a V-Spec. And it's $10 cheaper. I'm gonna really I'm gonna be critical and really see how the Rooster Racing Super 7 compares to a stock Viper V-Spec. If it outperforms it and it runs better, I'll be happy. I'm gonna say it does, but if it doesn't, I'm gonna say that as well. Or if it's very close, then I'm gonna say what I think you should spend your money on. So we'll see. And Steven knows I'm gonna give a fair review. So. I'm gonna grab a. So this is a stock Viper V-Spec. I just like the customization and the flexibility of this chassis where you can really easily swap out the armature if you want to, and the motor magnets. And the Viper has a little bit bigger, longer traction magnets too, so it's going to be interesting to see what Steven does to get the Super 7 to outperform a Viper. I mean, I understand the Viper runs a stock non-balanced armature, but I have stock Vipers that run pretty darn strong. They come in at over 4 on the dyno. So. In fact, let's take a look at these cars on the dyno, see how they do. This is a stock Super 7 running the dyno at 18 looks like 18.3 volts. Pulling in the 360s. This is the GT version. Actually, a little bit lower than the non-balanced one. So this one's a little bit below the. Still runs pretty strong. And this is a Viper V-Spec. I don't know, I haven't run this car in a while. This one might need some oil. Yeah, this car probably needs to be tuned up. It's been sitting on my shelf. See if I could find a better running. So there's a regular stock V-Spec that's up in the 390s, 380s, 390s. Another V-Spec ran similar number to a Super 7. So yeah, it's going to be interesting. They're going to be close, that's for sure. Yeah, I definitely agree, Ray. The V-Spec runs great right out of the package. Really, really well-built car. I've never had any problems with them. I have a lot of Viper V-Specs. I have at least probably 12 of them. Some of them I've modified and I've made faster, but that was my choice. There was nothing wrong with them. But I have an IROC set of V-Specs that I did hop up a little bit. I put independent front end on them and the max traction magnets just to make them a little more easy to drive for kids and stuff. But no, they're a great running chassis. That's why I'm curious to see, for $10 more on the Super 7 that Steven's gonna do, how it compares. Be an interesting test or comparison, I should say. I'm sure it's going to run great. I know Steven, he's a great builder. He's built some cars for me. I got my first Fusion from Steven, and he's given me some advice on some of my builds and helped me become a better builder. So I have no doubt that what he sells is going to be top notch. Another thing that makes a really big difference is the tire sizing. I mean, I can't stress enough how much of a difference just raising or lowering the car a little bit can make such a difference in how it handles. Really, as I've gotten more and more into advanced like club racing and building cars, like this is a 6 ohm hot stock Viper that I have 260. So instead of the stock 250, I put 260, a little bit wider hub with these RPM medium tires. It really gives this car sits well. And if I put these purple tires on this hub, the car sits too low. These are a little too low for a Viper on a 250, but on a 260, these purple tires on a Viper work really well. This car competes very closely with my Fusions. Oh, hey Dan. Hey, sorry you missed most of the show. I was just comparing the new independent O-ring front end set that Terry at Hardin Creek came out with. I put them on my IROC set of GTs, Mega G Plus cars. I had the Viper non-independent O-ring front end, so I just swapped them out for these independent front ends. And yeah, they're nice, but to be honest with you, they didn't make a huge performance difference over a Viper non-independent O-ring front end. So if you already have a Viper O-ring front end, I don't know that I would rush out and get non-independent, I mean independent front ends. That's just the experience I had on these cars. I'm a fan of independent front ends, and I run them on pretty much all of my performance cars. I mean, why wouldn't you? So, if you're going to upgrade your stock front end, why not just spend a few bucks more and go for the independent front end? But if you already have a bunch of Vipers with non-independent front ends that have this O-ring front end on them, this is still a good front end. It's just not independent. I just didn't see a huge performance increase with the independent O-ring front end compared to the non-independent O-ring front end. But it's up to you guys. I'm not saying not to try it out. Hey, slot car dude. It's morning here, slot car dude. So yeah, I already what we've already done. I've been on for about 45 minutes now. I compared the non-independent O-ring front end that I had on these cars to the new independent O-ring front end that HC Slots came out with. And again, I didn't see a huge performance increase, at least on my track and the voltage I'm running my track at. There was not a huge difference. Over the stock front end, probably definitely a big difference. I think either one of these front ends is a good choice over the stock front end, and it brings the car down significantly as well. Let's see. So this is a completely stock Mega G, stock tires, stock, like nothing has been done to this car. And you can kind of see how much space there is between the chassis, and it's a good amount of daylight there. If you look at this has lower profile rear tires and the independent front end, which is much lower. I mean, you can see the thing is quite a bit lower to the track, especially in the front. See if I can get a bigger piece of track here so we can try and see them both. Definitely brings the car down a good amount. And you know me, I'm all about getting that car slammed down as much as possible. Hey, James. So yeah, the HC slot O-ring independent front end, it's 749, so 750. It does not come with tires. You have to pick the O-ring tires that you want. They're only $1 a pair for the O-ring tires, and they come in a good amount of sizes, though not as many sizes as the independent front ends that I normally run. I still prefer this independent front end, and this is the same price. This is like $7, though the tires are more money. The tires are $3 a pair, but there are a lot of different sizes. You can really tailor how much, you know, how high or low you want the front end to be with this type of front end. And then we were talking about I don't know, Tanya, you latecomers, we were talking about the HC Super 7 and the fact that Rooster Racing, I don't know if anybody follows Rooster Racing. I know Ray does because he has one that was built by Steven, but Rooster Racing announced that he's going to be building Super 7s for Terry, and he's going to be putting his spin on it, so to speak. So it'll be a Rooster Racing built Super 7, and it's going to have some unique features to it, like a silver plated electricals, balanced armature, um, other, you know, it's very similarly spec'd to the GT, to this GT. So that's why I was saying I'm excited to get the one that Steven's sending me, because I really want to see how it does compared to this stock GT version, which has a balanced arm, has the same front end that is going to be on the one that Rooster Racing builds, has the same dual flanged rear setup. Um, don't I think Steven's going to be using better gearing on his version as well. So, but this is a $40 car, and the one Steven's building is $55. So I'm curious to see what I'm going to get for $15 more. That's all. So I'm going to be comparing that to these existing Super 7s as well as a Viper V-Spec, because coming in at $55, that's actually more money than a Viper V-Spec chassis is. So, really interested to see. I was talking to Steven earlier. He said his Super 7 will outperform a stock Viper V-Spec. So that will be impressive, because a stock Viper, I know how these cars run. They run very well without any modifications to them or tweaks. But that's it. That's really all I got going on right now. I have a race next weekend, so I'm going to be probably at some point this week getting my cars all prepped and ready for my club race that I have coming up on Saturday. That race is going to be at the Vero Beach Hobby Shop, which I've raced at a number of times, so it's kind of like my home track for my group. So I'm looking forward to racing out there again on Saturday. So we'll see how I do. But yeah, that's it. That's all I got right now. I don't know if you guys have any other questions about anything. If not, I'm probably going to sign off soon, and it's getting close to lunchtime here. So get some lunch. But once I get the Super 7 from Rooster Racing, I'll be sure to post probably do a live show. I'm starting to like doing these live shows. They're easy. They're easier than filming a video and editing. I just film this with my phone and it posts it for me and it's up there. I put these Vipers on cars that came in my Super International set. These were Super G Plus cars. Hey, Sean. Sean, you kind of missed everything. You're going to have to go back and rewatch the show. Getting ready to go off. Where's my other car? These have held up pretty well over the years. I've had these since probably the late 90s, early 2000s, something like that. Yeah, I do have my live shows monetized, so there probably will be commercials. Yeah, these are nice. I don't really run them too often because I don't want to mess them up. They've been run quite a bit as it is. They got some scuffs on them, but none of them have ever broke, which is a good thing. This one's in pretty good condition. All the decals are good. All right, guys, I think I'm probably going to sign off now. Going to grab some lunch. I hope everybody has a great rest of your Saturday and a great weekend. I might be on, I think I've got a couple of guys coming out tomorrow, so I'll probably do another live show tomorrow morning, probably around 11, 10:30, 11. A couple of us racing some cars, nothing special. But all right, we'll talk with you guys soon. Thanks, everybody.